Before we dive into the latest batch of NFL Power Rankings, as voted on here by the Chat Sports staff, shout out your favorite NFL team in the comments section of today's show. Let's see which fan base is repping the best. At number 32, the Tennessee Titans. It looks bad. We'll talk more about this on today's live show. It feels like when, not if, Brian Callahan gets fired in Tennessee. One of the other three winless teams, the Saints, check in at number 31. And they've been competitive, but, this isn't horseshoes or hand grenades, so who cares? At number 30, the New York Jets. They lost against the other winless team, the Dolphins, the Dolphins won. They jump up to number 29. Okay, whatever. The Tyreek Hill injury looms large for Miami. I don't think either team is really in that great a shape. As good as Carolina looked against the Falcons, they've kind of looked really bad outside of that. They're number 28, the Panthers are, at 1-3. The Giants got a very impressive win against a very good team in the Chargers. Credit to the Giants, to Brian Dable. The defense played awesome in that game. I do want to emphasize that. We'll spend some more time on Jackson Dart during today's live show, too. The Raiders at 26. I think those might have been, since the new version of Geno showed up in Seattle, I think that might have been the two worst games out of Geno Smith in his career. He has been terrible the last 2 weeks. Raiders at 26. The Browns at 25. The defense is good. Don't even let the points allowed confuse you. The offense keeps turning the ball over. And I do wonder if we're going to get a Dylan Gabriel shot to start in the near future. You go out and trade for a veteran tackle. You don't do that when you're not a contender unless you want to make sure the young quarterback is protected. Number 24, the Houston Texans. You beat the Titans. A win is a win. I don't think it's a very, needle-moving win necessarily, but needed for Houston to keep those playoff hopes alive. The Bengals just continue to crater. They finally begin the year 2-0. They're off to a good start in September. Joe Burrow goes down, and the entire team just cannot function. The Bengals check in at number 23, and it seems like it's another lost year of Joe Burrow's prime for Cincinnati. The Cowboys at number 22, fresh off a tie. Look, the offense is legitimately one of the best units in football. The defense is the worst or the second worst, and that makes it really hard to win. The Cowboys have scored 37-plus points multiple times this year, and they haven't won all of those games, which is insane to think about. The defense is putrid. The offense is great, but you combine those and you're below 500. They don't have to grade them right this second. If you want to get to the rest of the video, that's fine. But the pin poll on today's video is going to be grading our Week 5 NFL Power Rankings. So feel free, head down there and let me know. A, B, C, D, or F. The Bears, who beat those Cowboys a few weeks ago at 21, they beat the Raiders, but did they? The Raiders kind of shot themselves in the foot repeatedly and kind of gifted that game to Chicago. I felt like the Raiders outplayed the Bears, but, wins are what matters here. Chicago, 2-2 matters because they've been on the wrong end of those games so many times over the years. I think it's nice for the Bears to come out on the right side of it, but they still got some work to do as part of a all above 500 or at 500 NFC North. The Patriots at number 20. The offense, I think, is actually pretty good. I know it's not the sexiest offense, but it's extremely efficient under Josh McDaniels. Patriots have done some good things. We'll see if they can continue to do that as they move forward. Another 2-2 team, the Falcons. A much better showing from Michael Penix this past weekend. That has to continue. The Falcons are built to win now. They have invested all those extra first-round picks to go get players to help them now. They got to keep winning and fighting in the NFC South. Another division that is at 500 or above, the NFC West. See how that plays out going forward. The Cardinals at number 18. I mean, they rallied well against Seattle on Thursday Night Football, but there are moments that team just isn't functioning well. At least Marvin Harrison seemed to shed his yips after a really rough start in that game. Today's show is made possible by Prize Picks. You and I make decisions every single day, but on Prize Picks, being right can get you paid. If you haven't already, now is the time to go download the app and use promo code CLNS to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. PrizePicks is the only app that offers stacks, so you can pick the same player up to 3 times in the same lineup. Maybe you want more than on Josh Allen passing yards, rush yards, and touchdowns. You can do that as a stack on PrizePicks. You can also follow other players directly on the app and copy their lineups in one click. So it's a friend, a partner, or someone whose picks you just like to follow. Hit that follow button and check out every lineup they create in the feed tab on PrizePicks. My boy Jack Lauder rates not just football, baseball PrizePicks lineups are available as well as we finally get closer to October. So go download the app today. Use code CLNS to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. That's code CLNS to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. PrizePicks, it's good to be right. Link will be in the comments section and the description of today's show. The wildly inconsistent Minnesota Vikings check in at 17. Pittsburgh kind of took it to them. That game was not as close as the score indicates. It's not a great showing from Carson Wentz, but there was defense getting back. I'll talk more with them in a little bit. They need McCarthy healthy and playing well, and they got to kind of right the ship. They're overseas again this week, by the way. Denver bouncing back in a big way in Week 16, manhandling the Bengals on Monday Night Football. R.J. Harvey and J.K. Dobbins getting going. A much better showing out of Bo Nix. I still think Denver's going to push pretty hard for a playoff spot. I will make note, these are AP poll style voting. Sometimes I am higher on a team and lower on others than what the consensus voting ends up being. I think I did have Denver in the top 15. I'm a little bit higher on them. I am also higher on Jacksonville. They're 3-1. They're only 15 in today's voting. There were some other voters who were lower on them. It hasn't been the smoothest or the cleanest. The Niners game was honestly a little bit weird, but they won. And that hasn't been the Jags' history in the past. If Trevor Lawrence can elevate his game under Liam Cohen, hasn't happened yet, if Brian Thomas Jr. can get back on track, Jags could make some noise in the AFC South. The Commanders at number 14. They're only 2-2. I think this is very much once Jaden Daniels gets healthy, voting boost going on there. Opposite going on for the Bengals where Joe Burrow's not going to get healthy. Pittsburgh at number 13. Best we've seen out of Aaron Rodgers and DK Metcalf all season. They are once again trending in an AFC North that looks weird right now. We'll spend some more time on that here in a second. Pittsburgh again trending towards 9 or 10 wins and being a playoff team. I am worried about the Baltimore Ravens. They are extremely banged up right now on defense. I mean, go to the original Week 1 depth chart and throw a dart. You'll probably hit an injured player right now. It's that bad. The offense looks disjointed in a way that I really wasn't expecting to see this year. I get, look, they scored 40 against the Bills and Browns and 30 against the Lions, and they went 1-3 in those, or 1-2 in those games, but I don't know why they were not putting Derrick Henry on the field in short yardage. That just doesn't make any sense. It's kind of a must-win game this week against Houston. You drop to 1-4, you're in trouble. You have the Rams still to come. Some of the back end of the schedule does set up for success. You've got the Bears and Dolphins and Browns and the Jets and the Bengals twice and the Patriots, but they have to start winning games or it might be the year they actually miss the playoffs. So will the Ravens make the playoffs? Y for yes, N for no. Let me know in the comments section of today's show. Number 11, the Seattle Seahawks. Sam Darnold's been just steadily efficient for the most part. I think that defense under Mike McDonald, super fun. We will get I argue, a pretty impactful early season game coming up here in Week 5 as we get the Niners who check in at number 10 going up against the Rams. So stay tuned for more on the Rams here. Niners are banged up again. I don't know what's going on with that training staff, if it's even their fault, but everyone's dropping like flies. Purdy's hurt again. Parasol's hurt again. Somehow Christian McCaffrey stayed healthy, but boy, those injuries are mounting. Even in a loss, you felt okay about the Colts, right? They competed. If A.D. Mitchell can just not fumble the football, it might be a completely different game. The Colts look kind of sustainable. We'll see how it plays the rest of the year, but I'll give Shane Steichen a ton of credit. The Chiefs needed that game against the Ravens. They needed to get back on track and look like the Chiefs' potent powerhouse offense we've seen in the past. I think getting back some of their actual good receivers, like Xavier Worthy being back out there, I think was a huge deal. Unlocked a lot of other elements of the offense. The run game still isn't good, which I think is a pretty big concern, but Chiefs were very, very impressive. The Packers, a tie. Their offense looked pretty solid outside of the one Jordan Love strip sack. That was it, really, for the Packers offense that had issues. Kind of conservative, almost blew the game in overtime, but a weird tie for Green Bay. I think they got a little bit ahead of themselves the first 2 weeks. I got ahead of myself with them as well, but I'm a media and fan. I'm allowed to do that, but team can't do it. They got to kind of lock back in a little bit, I think. We got weekly NFL Power Rankings here on the channel, so do not miss out. Hit that sub button right now, youtube.com/chatsportstv. Number 6, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Again, they lost against the Eagles, but they fought. I don't know if the score was quite as close as maybe the overall game flow went. I do think Tampa is the clear favorite in the NFC South. Apologies, Falcons. I will not apologize to the Panthers and the Saints. Number 5, the Chargers. They're banged up on the offensive line. I think that's probably a bigger concern than maybe people realize. Was not the best showing out of Justin Herbert. Hampton actually ran the ball pretty well. They probably should have leaned more on that. 42 runs by the Giants in that game. It was a very run-heavy game script. I just need to see a little bit more consistency from LA. But hey, Quentin Johnson looks good. Good for him. All right, the Rams jumping up now to number 4, and they got a big game against the 49ers. Puka Nacua looks lights out. As long as Matthew Stafford is healthy, the Rams are going to be a legitimate threat in the NFC. I think there were some real concerns after week 1 against the Lions, or I should say for the Lions, after kind of a bad showing against the Packers. They didn't look very comfortable. Since then, it's been all smooth sailing, right? They blew out the Browns. They beat the Ravens and blew out the Bears in impressive fashion. And they've scored 34, 38, 52. That offense is dealing right now. There are 2 undefeated teams left in football, the Eagles and the Bills. Who do you think will be the last undefeated team in football? Get those predictions in for me in the comments section of today's show. Bills host the Patriots on Sunday night, by the way. Eagles host the Broncos in the 1 p.m. window. It's the Bills at number 2. And I see that means the Eagles are at number 1. We can show them both here. I believe in putting the defending champs as the last undefeated team until they actually lose a game, which, by the way, I love what the Bills are doing. I'm very impressed by them. In a normal year, I think you can argue they're number 1. They'll be a consensus number 1 if they're last undefeated team remaining. The last time the Eagles lost a game in which Jalen Hurts finished the game and wasn't hurt or anything was a year ago. A year ago. That was week 4 against the Bucs. That is the last time they have lost the game with their healthy quarterback, because Kenny Pickett had to come in against the Commanders when they lost that game, and Pickett actually led the team in scoring in that matchup. It has been a year, since a full calendar year now, since the Eagles lost the game with their healthy starting quarterback. That is insane.